Nicole with Healthy Pet, and today I'm going to start talking about allergies. This is a very big topic, so I don't think we're going to cover it all in one spiel, but we'll cover lots of material. So to start off with, allergies is when your body doesn't recognize and responds poorly to things that most people don't have issues with. Your body will release histamines, or it will release an immunoglobulin, and it can have different types of effects in the body. So for people, a common allergen is avocado. When people eat avocado and they get an itchy mouth, that is an allergic response. When people eat peanuts and have anaphylactic shock and need an EpiPen, adrenaline, and go to the hospital, that is also an allergic reaction. That's just a lot more severe allergic reaction, but both are allergies. So you could say that there's a spectrum on how you react, and the same is true for dogs. On the other hand, there's also food intolerances. A food intolerance, again, for people would be a milk intolerance. So that would be where people are lactose intolerant and can't have dairy products unless they take either an enzyme or they get the special type of milk that has the lactase deactivated. The same is true for dogs. Some dogs can have a food intolerance, and you'll see a food intolerance because the dog will have gas or bloating, will refuse to eat the food, or could throw up. Those are also symptoms that they can have when they have food allergies, but they're symptoms that we see with food intolerance. We also see those same symptoms in the flat-faced dogs, brachiocephalic dogs, because they'll take in a lot of extra air when they eat and have the exact same thing that can happen with a food intolerance. So see where this gets to be a very expansive subject, where it's not just saying, oh, my dog has allergies. It is a process of elimination and making educated decisions on what to try next and what to try in conjunction with each other. It can also involve working with your vet along with working with us to find the different foods and products that work best for your dog, to determine if it's an intolerance, if it's just an allergy, if it's a seasonal allergy or food allergy, if it's a yeast issue, or if it's just your dog needs a raised feeder to eat their food with less air ingestion. Okay, so yeast. Yeast is not an allergy, but it can go hand in hand with allergies. So yeast is all around us, right? It is what gives us bread, and cheese, and alcohol in the fermentation product. It is naturally occurring on the skin, and it's naturally occurring in your gut. And when everything's in balance, the skin is happy, your gut is happy, you don't have any sort of issues. But yeast, when it gets out of control, can start to look very similar to allergies, and it may be in conjunction with allergies. So some telltale signs with allergies, when you have the itching and the scratching and the biting of the paws. When you have the itching and the scratching and the biting of the paws with yeast, the yeast will usually leave that red kind of fur, either at the ears or the red fur when they're biting at their paws. And allergies typically don't have the red paws, and that would be the difference of yeast being present versus not being present. So when there is yeast overgrowth, again, the red paws, you'll sometimes see like the hair is red, not just inflamed skin, because inflamed skin can be a symptom of both as well. When you see the black skin on the belly, when you see unexplained hair loss in conjunction with any of these other types of issues, and when you have the body smell that I was mentioning in the ear cleaning video, the body smell that kind of smells like Fritos or corn chips, one of those kind of funky kind of smells that's different. That's usually a symptom of yeast. And yeast can be an overpopulation of yeast on the skin, or it can be an overpopulation in the ear. So again, all of these things is where it becomes a very intense subject, and we like to ask questions to pinpoint what issue we're actually having. But if we've determined that we're going to start with yeast, the biggest thing is taking out the things that feed yeast. And carbohydrates feed yeast. So if it's possible, we like to introduce more raw foods or freeze-dried foods into the diet. And if we're not able to go that route, we like to go with lower carbohydrate foods that are not based on grain and are not based off of potato, so grain-free, potato-free dry foods. But as much raw as we can introduce to, again, limit the carbohydrates, because raw foods don't even need any sort of binders compared to dry foods and still need some sort of binder. That will help eliminate the food that's feeding yeast. And we have a whole protocol so that if raw is not a long-term solution for you, if we can use it in the short term to get your dog into balance and find what's the best protocol going forward, keep raw in mind. That's a nice way to get the yeast under control and not feed it. From there, we have the Zymox, and again, we talked about the Zymox products in the ear video, but they have a shampoo and conditioner, and so this is really great when there's yeast out of control on the skin and the body. The conditioner can also be diluted into just a spray bottle and used just as a daily spray to rub into the skin. It is a nice little in-between bath treatment, and it can also be used as a lotion so just applying it directly. So if it's on the belly and we've got a lot of black skin or a really gnarly little area that the dog's been itching, scratching, biting at that we're working on healing, this will be good to use direct. Like I said, diluting it to use it as a spray. They also make the ear solution, so when it's a yeast infection in the ears versus the yeast infection on the skin, the ear solution is a great product to get that under control. And the topical cream is just a little bit thicker than the conditioning rinse. The conditioning rinse is a lot, kind of like a watered down lotion because it's a conditioner, and this is more of a thicker cream. So depending on what the situation is, you may want the thicker cream, but I think that the conditioning rinse is a nice option to just have because you can use it in different ways. Okay. And then going back to feeding the dog, when you are addressing yeast, Geniflora is geared specifically toward yeast in Candida. So anytime somebody's talking about Candida, they're talking about yeast. So yeast on the skin, yeast in the ears, just getting the gut under control. So as I said, the yeast is naturally occurring on the skin and in the gut. When the gut gets out of balance, that's when you see it reflected on your dog's skin. So we use the Geniflora to get the gut back into balance, in addition to the food and the Zymox to control the yeast. We do have a couple of other products that work really well, and there's always new things coming onto the market that we try to keep ourselves knowledgeable on and to bring in when we find that it's an effective product. Okay. So that gives a very rough quick overview of yeast, and then getting into seasonal allergies. When it comes to seasonal allergies and food allergies, we find that oftentimes a dog that has food allergy, like 50% of the time, they also have a seasonal allergy. So you can see where this is also, again, not just a quick fix of just, oh, let's change this and everything will be solved. In some cases it might be. That's awesome, but it's not always, especially as dogs get older. Dogs that have always been on the exact same food, which is why we encourage rotation, but when they've always been on the exact same food, they can start to develop a hypersensitivity to food. And that can lead what used to be seasonal allergies into chronic allergies that aren't necessarily food allergy, but that hypersensitivity to the food increases their allergic response to the seasonal allergies that become year-round. So again, it's not just a cut and dry answer to any of these things. This is a little wellness life stress scan. This is from Glacier Peak. We have lots of customers who have used this. You send in a saliva sample and a hair sample. This is a little bit less expensive than the blood test that you can get from your vet, but a blood test, obviously, being a blood test is a lot more intense and can give you a better range on what your dog has an actual allergy to. So as I was saying, avocado and peanuts are both allergens for people. They're on a spectrum. This will tell you everything that will test positive to being sensitive, but it won't give you those specifics of how sensitive your dog is. And when you are trying to eliminate allergens and you're finding it very, very difficult, sometimes it can be useful to have those specific things of choosing one allergen that's less sensitive than another. That's where a blood test can be very useful. But this, as I said, is a lot less expensive, and people will use this seasonally because, as I was saying, with food hypersensitivity, it can lead to different types of allergies that will become chronic seasonal allergies, and that will change depending on the season. If there's dust or pollen, flea bites, if there's whatever's blooming or not blooming, this can help tell you what is your stressor at that given season, so that you can decide if you need to do more baths, if you need to wipe the dog's paws down, or if you need to introduce more raw during a certain season, and you can go with more kibble during another season. So we like that product. Okay, so going back to seasonal allergies. A lot of people will use Benadryl for seasonal allergies. I like the Animal Essentials Seasonal Allergy. This has also been called Spring Tonic in the past, but it is now called Seasonal Allergy. So if you have an old bottle or old packaging, it's the same product. This is a natural herbal antihistamine. So as opposed to giving Benadryl, I like this product, the Seasonal Allergies. For Benadryl can make dogs very, very sleepy, and I also teach a pet CPR class, and in the CPR class, for making your own first aid kit, we do recommend having a liquid Benadryl in a first aid kit for your pets, because it can be used for those extreme allergies. So if your dog gets stung by a bee and has a severe allergic reaction where they actually start to swell up, that's when we say, hey, pull out that Benadryl and treat your dog, because we train to use the Benadryl for those kind of allergies. I don't personally like using the Benadryl for just everyday kind of things in seasonal allergies, because I think it's just too strong. You don't need something that strong for everyday type of allergies for your pets. That's what this product is meant for, and works really well to do. So, seasonal allergies. Okay. When we go back to seasonal allergies, the food that you feed can make a difference on the seasonal allergies. This goes back to that food hypersensitivity that I mentioned. So we find, again, as I mentioned with yeast, going with foods that have less carbohydrates to them can significantly help. And it's not necessarily that your dog's allergic to chicken or turkey or beef, but getting rid of some of these hypersensitive things for the season can make a difference. So you might find that your dog can eat chicken in winter, but during the summer your dog needs to eat beef. That's not weird or unusual. Sounds funny, but we do find that these things tend to hold true. And then with seasonal allergies, as I said before, flea bites. Flea bites are a very big seasonal allergy, so the flea and tick prevention is definitely key there. And I really like the Pets Life powder. We do have samples of it, and you can always try a sample and make sure your dog likes it, or use the spray. Okay, so then going into food allergies. Food allergies, again, that sensitivity test can be hugely helpful. The food allergies can change throughout your dog's life. So when somebody gives only one formula day after day, year after year, you might find that your dog can no longer have the most prevalent ingredients of that food, be it chicken or the grain or the potato or whatever that binder was that kept that food into the kibble shape. And that's where you have to start experimenting and trying different foods with different combination of ingredients to see what your dog does best with. There's no hard, fast rule. It's just, again, trial and error. We often find that when your dog has had those same types of foods, that their gut has become increasingly more sensitive and less responsive, and that would be where having different types of probiotics are very useful. This is one of the first things that we always talk to people about, is getting a probiotic into your dog's system, whether it's yeast or whether it's a seasonal allergy or whether it's a food allergy. We always go with a probiotic. The probiotics help the gut heal and help the dog and cat get the most out of the food and break the food down most fully, so that if the dog is starting to just push food through their system and not getting all of the nutrition out of it and starting to break down the way that it processes food in the colon, the probiotics just help heal all of this. Leaky gut is a whole nother issue that can be part of all of this and overlap with some of these things, but we'll talk about that at a different time. Okay, so we've got the good guts, we've got the seasonal allergies. Even with a food allergy, itching, scratching, biting, the Zymox can definitely help relieve the after effects as to why they're itching. So even if it's not necessarily that it's now yeast that's gotten out of control because they were biting their skin, but just a hot spot because they were biting their skin because of the food allergy, the Zymox works really, really well. Okay, so that was a very brief overview of everything. I think you can see why it allergies. We don't try to make it a 5-minute quick fix of try this. This will work for you 100% of the time. We want to work with you to find the best solution.